Created for a Purpose is the name of a book that my mentor wrote many years ago, and it made a huge impact on me, and with her blessing she gave me the opportunity to use that name, and it has translated well into what the women needed. They want to know that they're created for a purpose.
Julie and I had our first opportunity in 2010 to do the first women's conference in Bahadar, Ethiopia. And it was an amazing time, and just to see the women streaming in the gates, coming in and worshiping God together and hearing a message of hope, truly I felt like life was coming into my heart from that, because I knew I was doing what God had called me to do. And so last year we came back and we did one in Bahadar and as well as the Awi Zone.
The nature of the trip was different, and I wanted to experience the whole of Ethiopia, not just from one vantage point. Initially that's why, and once I got a real understanding of what Created for a Purpose was about and about its role with women, I really felt like that's something I wanted to be a part of.
What is really fantastic is the work of Julie Field, in that she has poured her life into the people in Ethiopia, particularly the north.
I was so excited to be with the team because I was happy to be with the team that I was with, because I had never been on a mission trip before, and I knew that I needed to be taken care of a little bit and shown around by more experienced people, and they were experienced, and that's what I needed, so I was excited.
We all shared each other's stories, which is something that I didn't do on my last mission trip, unfortunately. And it's good to know who you're serving with, to know them on a lot deeper level. It was very inviting, and I was very comfortable sharing and receiving stories.
Behind me you see a banner. In Amharic it is written Created for a Purpose, and we believe that every woman has great value, and it's our desire in the next 2 days that they will know the love of God, they will know and experience the value that He has on their lives, and they will see hope for the future.
ኮንፈረንሱ እጅግ በጣም አስፈላጊ ነው። በተለይ እህቶች በእግዚአብሔር ዓላማ እንደተፈጠሩ የእግዚአብሔር እቅድ የእግዚአብሔር ፕሮግራም በሕይወታቸው እንዳለ እንዲያዩ የእግዚአብሔር ሰው መሆናቸውን በውስጣቸው ያለውን አቅም በውስጣቸው ያለውን ችሎታ ምንም ነገር ሳይገድባቸው ለእግዚአብሔር ክብር ለእግዚአብሔር መንግስት እንደመስፋት ጥቅምና በረከትን እንዲያውሉት የሚያደርግ ስልጠና ስለነበረ በጣም አስተማሪ በጣም ገንቢ እንደነበረ እኔም ፕሮግራሙ ላይ ተገኝቼ ማየት ይችላል።
There has never been a women's conference in the north of Ethiopia. One thing that's really important for people to understand is that even though the statistics in Ethiopia say that there are 18%, 19% of evangelical Christians, when missionaries were allowed to come into Ethiopia, they were allowed to come into the south. So everything south of Addis Ababa has had 100 years of mission work, of people coming and serving and sharing Christ. The north was intentionally told not to come, don't come here. So when we came north, we began to understand that only less than 1% of that 18% are believers or followers of Jesus here in the north. And you have 20 million people in the Amhara region. And here in Bahadar, there might be 250,000 people, but there's 3,000 believers in that entire area. So this is truly an unreached group. This is the purpose of God. And at the end of the day, you will not be the same.
በዛሬው የመጨረሻ ቀን በመጨረሻው በፕሮግራሙ መዝጊያ እንደመጣችሁ አትመለሱ።
The way the conferences happen is that the women, first we took the first part of Lazarus, that story, and the women break up in small groups, and many of these women have not had the opportunity to voice their opinion, are not even sure how to voice their opinion, how to make a decision, or to voice what they think. what it means to them, how it applies to their life, who Jesus is, and all about choice. And as I had the opportunity, because I didn't lead a small group, I got to wander around in the room and watch the leaders engage the women, whether it was a gentleman that was leading the group or a woman, and to watch the women, like, it's almost like light came into their eyes, the life came into their eyes as they began to share and smile and even interact with one another. And it was powerful. But the beauty of it is they get the foundation of the story.
You know, the world statistics are that 80% of the world are oral learners. And that doesn't mean they're illiterate. It does mean that they are preferred oral learners. They would rather hear a story than read it. And in many cultures, and specifically here in Ethiopia, it is an oral culture. So to teach from a literate method, even if you talk and not expecting people to take notes, it's still a literate method. But when Jesus was asked about 189 questions, he only answered those questions 3 times. The rest of the time, he either spoke back to them with a question or he told a story.
Then once they kind of warmed up and realized what it was all about, they warmed up and participated in the conversations, participated in this discussion of the stories, and I think they really embraced that process.
They have a time to experience that in small groups, which is happening right now. There's 13 groups throughout the room right now, all listening to the story of the jars of oil. And all of the women are participating, and it is wonderful to hear their voices throughout the room.
Towards the end, there was one older woman who really just was kind of observing the whole time. She didn't have any input, even when Baum would encourage her. And finally, Baum didn't really give up on her, and he kept being like, "What do you think? What do you think?" And finally, she talked, and it was so cool to see that she was open, and once she heard other women talking and realized it was a safe place to open up and put her own opinion in, it was cool to see that she was comfortable to talk there.
These women will never go back to wanting to be silent. They will want God's word to be in their hearts, and they will want to be interacting with it.
We had all of our team members, it was in Amharic and in English, and we had them stationed throughout the room, and we had 61 names. And one at a time, they would shout out, not just whisper, but they would shout out the name, healer, provider, shepherd, morning star, all those different things. And as I had the opportunity to be on the stage, what I saw is that the women, you could just see life. It's almost like God was just entering in, that life was coming in them as they were encompassed with the names of Jesus and the realization and the revelation truly of who Jesus is. It was a powerful moment, and you could just see the joy come upon their face. And
you could see that they related to Patty's story a lot, and it was just cool to see them kind of take in what she was saying, and you could see it kind of soak in. And some of the women during the tough parts of Patty's story, you know, you could see them crying, and you could see the relationship that was forming. And I think also the women around each other, and seeing kind of like the women looking over and being like, oh, this lady has the same story as my story, and she's crying too, and having that community kind of, which was really cool, knowing that they relate was.
The thing that makes the Creative for a Purpose conferences different is, first of all, it's very direct. I mean, everything has to be lined up with, does it fit within the idea of Creative for a Purpose? Are we giving women value? You know, from the message that are given, from the stories that are involved, with the worship that takes place, with the way that women are prayed for, all of those things are to do it in such a way that they are gently encouraged to live in freedom.
Look at her being set free. Peace going peace. Drugs, alcohol.
Was just asking God to reveal what He wanted these women to see, what He wants us to feel when we are free from bondage. And once they unwrapped me, I don't remember what I did. I just let God work through me, and then people told me after that it was wonderful. So I'm glad that it related to people and that God did work through me.
The moment of when the final mask came off, the mask around her face, and she just broke into this beautiful dance, and I think she discovered something about her own self in the midst of that dance, and the women discovered something in that dance as she became free from everything that bound them up. And so at that point, what we did is we called forth the women to receive prayer. One of our priorities in the ministry of doing the conferences is that every single woman that wants prayer will be prayed for.
This year, I actually had a woman come that I had prayed with last year. And she wanted to tell me that the things we'd prayed about were resolved, and that her family had been healed, and there was restoration in their family, and she wanted to thank me. And that was just, wonderful to hear. One highlight of that prayer process is this year, I was honored to lead 2 women to the Lord, and that was just great. One of them came and said she'd actually talked to me last year, but this year she wanted to receive Jesus as her Lord, and would I please pray with her, and it was just like the greatest.
The worship at the end of the whole conference is something I will never forget. I don't think I've ever seen or felt so much joy in one place. It's not like anything you've ever imagined. It's jumping and screaming and singing and raising your hands and dancing, and it's everything at once, and it's so wonderful to see everybody praising God in their own way, but all together at once. And it was just such a joyous time. It was the most joyful time in my whole life. And we ran up on stage, and tons of other people ran up on stage, and everybody's running in circles and jumping up and down, and it's something that you have to experience. It is the most wonderful thing I've ever seen.
So we're seeing here in the north of Ethiopia some major change happen in the way that people are discipled, and in the way that people understand Scripture, in the way that they don't have to be literate.
Something that I never thought would happen. From the very first trip, Ethiopia and its people really became part of my heart. And I couldn't wait to come back. Each time I would come, I couldn't wait to come back. It's hard to explain, but I think God just really broke my heart for the Ethiopian people.
My dream, one of my dreams I started to see achieved last year when we have spent a year at that point with workshops on Simply the Story with men and women in both Bakadar and Ethiopia and in Jabara, out in the Awe Zone. Probably 200 or 300 people have gone to the workshops in the last year. Missionaries that have come from the south to work in the north, 45 of them have come through the workshops. There's been 3 different workshops happen out in the Awe Zone. And there's now the first oral Bible school in the north of Ethiopia in the Awe Zone, where 12 men and women are getting together every week to learn the stories. And in a period of time, they'll learn 210 stories. So investing in women is a wise thing to do, just from an investment point of view. And keeping that goal clear, keeping the focus clear, and having the Ethiopians catch that vision, having our team members have a tremendous amount of joy to be a part of this, and know that if something happened to me tomorrow, they'd be able to move it on because they get it. And their women have received something they haven't had before, and they want more.